Hi, good morning. My name is Benjamin Midler. I was born on June 27, 1928, in the city of Byalstak, Poland. I'm going to talk about it, my life through the Holocaust and the life afterwards. In 1939, I was only 11 years old when the war broke out, and the Nazis, Germany Nazis, invaded Poland, and they came to Byalstak, only didn't stay long. That's why I got to say something about the history from that time. In 1938 and 1939, they almost occupied all Poland, and Poland, all Europe, and Poland was no exception. And it didn't stay long because they were afraid of a second front as the Russians will open up. So they decided to give the eastern part Poland to Russian. This way they wouldn't go into war against them. From 1939 to 1941, we were under Russian occupation. Life didn't change much because Byalstak was an industrial city, a lot of factories of textile, tailor shops, and so on. In 1941, of June 22 of 1941, they came back to Byalstak, and the first thing they do, they burned up, they pushed in between 1,000 and 1,200 people to the main synagogue, and they put it on fire, and they didn't let the fire department to put out the fire. We smelled smoke, but we were not far away by about 6 blocks, only we couldn't go there because we were afraid to go, because we know the war is on, and they could be shooting all over the streets. Right away, they made us wear a yellow star on the clothing, and in July of 1941, they rounded up 5,000 men and women. Between them, my father and one of my uncles, they took them out to the forest and they killed them in mass graves. In August of 1941, they told all the people to move into a ghetto. Byalstak was 65% Jewish population, and they made us to move into a 25% area. So could you imagine? Everything was very tight. We sometimes had to live 2 families in 1 bedroom, not only 1 family to a bedroom, to a room. And we were there for 2 years because we couldn't bring in, we couldn't raise no beef and no chicken. So wherever was going to worked, one of the factories was getting rationing, and wherever it didn't work, wouldn't get it. Because my father died, and so I figured I better go and work. I worked as a presser in a tailor factory, and I was right, because in February 25, 1943, they rounded up all the people that didn't work any place for the Germans in any factories, and they sent them to Treblinka, but it was an extermination camp. Nobody came back from there. In August of 1943, they declared this to close down the ghetto of Byalstak. So they deported everybody, and because my uncle knew something like that going to happen, so they built hiding plates in the cellars. In Poland at that time was no refrigeration, in no basement, was only cellars where we kept vegetables and cooked food so it wouldn't get spoiled. From the cellar, they put in through a window, made a hiding place going into the backyard, to the garden. We were there when it started the liquidation of the ghetto, only we didn't stay long because it was an uprising, and Jewish people from 18 to 40 or 50 took up guns. Only guns is not enough power against tanks, because the German came in with tanks to the ghetto. So the people who did the uprising burned a few wooden houses by the fence, and because we were not far from the fence, but 2 blocks, we smelled the smoke. So my uncle, his son, and me, we went out to check, and Germans were waiting for us, and they marched us outside of the city to a field. They call it Petrasha Field. Over there was waiting trains for us to take us to Treblinka. We didn't know where they're going to take us. Only we knew there's people going someplace and nobody comes back. We were there. They marched us to outside of the ghetto to the field over there, only because the trains couldn't take everybody in one day. Like I said before, we were 65% Jewish. So what happened? On the third day, came Germans, officers, with sticks, with round handles, and they rounded up 500 men and women and put us in 3 separate cars. We didn't know why and for what. These 3 separate cars they put at the end of the train. All the trains, including our train, went to Treblinka. The only thing is the 3 cars, they put it on the side rail line, and the locomotive came back and took us to the first camp, to Majdanek. I was in 6 camps. The Red Cross took out from the archive, and I got to prove it. I was in 6 camps during the Holocaust. When they took us to Majdanek, we were there a couple of months, and came 2 people, and they told us everybody should say, want to know, they want to find out what we did, what kind of work we did in the ghetto. My uncle, because he worked at that time during the ghetto as a mechanic for the army, for their fleet, so he told me I should say a mechanic. All you have to do to hold a wrench, and he told me what to do. When they came to me, I got scared, and I told them the truth. I was a presser. It so happened they needed tailors and shoemakers because they were above with Russia. They were close to Moscow, and they needed warm clothes. So they rounded up 200 men, tailors and shoemakers, and they sent them to other camp. And because I was a presser, they came to me and they asked me, how come a young guy like you was a presser? So I told them my father died. I didn't tell him he was killed. And I had to go to work, support my family. He liked my answer, and he sent me to the 200 people. And I went to Blizhin, another camp near Radom. Over there was really a labor camp, only I didn't do any pressing in a tailor shop. I worked in a stone quarry, breaking up stones to build highways and roads. I was there a year. During this year, there was very little food we was getting, and we were sleeping on bunk beds on 2 high. In every barrack was between 200 and 200 people. We couldn't take, sanitary things was out of the question. We couldn't take showers. All we did was wash our face and clean the teeth with the fingers. People got typhus, including me, only because I was young, so I could go through. I lived through. I was strong enough to go through it, because in December of 1944, when I came to, from Blizhin, the Russians were very close, because they fought back, and they marched us out to another, to get to trains, because at that time was very hard to bring trains, because the Russian offensive was very close. They sent us to Birkenau. In Birkenau, Auschwitz. Auschwitz was 2 camps, Auschwitz A and Birkenau. In Birkenau, I went through a selection. They put up 2 boards, vertical and horizontal, and wherever didn't touch the horizontal board, would send to the crematorium. For some reason or another, it came to my mind I should stand up on my toes, and I touched the horizontal wood, and they sent me to the labor camp. Before they sent me to the labor camp, they shaved my head, and they put on a number, B2433. There's the only 2 camps in concentration camps was they tattoos the number on your hand. In Auschwitz, they would tattoo the number on the outside of the arm. In Birkenau, they put it inside. My number was B like in boy 2433. Walking in the camp, I walked to clean the swamps by putting in pipes in the ground to drain the swamps around the camp. We were there only 6 months because again the offensive, Russian offensive came close and they couldn't bring trains, so we walked for a week to a place until a train camp and they took us to Germany. I went to Sachsenhausen. When I came to Sachsenhausen, I decided I'll do anything to my power because I was separated from my family and we were very loved by each other, and I was missing the family, so I said to myself, I'll volunteer to any place if they ask for volunteers, because any camp couldn't be any different from the camp what is now. So from Sachsenhausen, they sent me to Ohrdruf. In Ohrdruf was a camp where they built a factory to build the V2, the missiles what they were shooting over London and the cities of England. I was there only 5 months, and they asked if somebody wants to volunteer to another camp. I volunteered again, and I went to Babelsberg. In Babelsberg, we were, there's a suburb of Berlin. We were, during the day, they took us to Berlin to clean the streets of Berlin after the Allied forces were bombing the big cities, including Berlin, every night. The reason why I'm alive today, because I find out in 1990 when I wrote a book. The life of a child survivor from Byalstak, Poland. In the book you could get on Amazon. It took me 3 years to write. One of the years I found an article in the Chicago Tribune in San Diego, this with a picture, because the Brewer wrote the article. He was an officer with Dwight Eisenhower, and he put in a picture, this in the camp of wherever I was before, Babelsberg, Ohrdruf. They killed all the prisoners. And they show a picture as Dwight Eisenhower is standing with officers from the army, with people from the village to show them how the Nazis killed all of them. If I wouldn't volunteer to go to Babelsberg, I wouldn't be alive today. And not only that, in Babelsberg, we woke up on May 8, 1945, and we didn't see any guards. What happened? Because we were liberated by the Russians, and the guards were afraid they going to be killed or tortured by the Russians, so they ran away to the American sector. From there, and at that time, in Babelsberg, after we were liberated, people would run to the houses because we were in a suburb. They ran to the houses to get food to eat, because our body was not used to it. The stomach were we were skin and bones. So they wherever eat a lot of food, they got dysentery and they died. And so happened, at that time I was only 17 years old, I got measles. Nobody at that age got measles. Why I find out I got measles, I got a lot of red spots on my body, and they thought it's an infection, so they took me to the hospital. And that's why, being in the hospital, I didn't go through what the other inmates went, and I'm alive today. Now I have to go out to get to Poland. So because we're on the Russian side, a lot of the army would take out all the equipment from the factories and send them to Russia. One of these trains, we were 25 inmates, prisoners of the Holocaust, and we went on the train. When we came to Poland, Polish people with guns was going to take us down and kill us. So the officer told us, why don't you come to Russia, help us unload the train, and then you could go back. When we came to Russia, I was working in a commissary in an army camp to give out food and clothing for the army. One of the branches was the branch where the soldiers were watching the borders between Russia and other countries. A secretary came, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I bribed her with 2 bottles of vodka, and I told her I find out my parents are alive, and I would like to go get a 2 weeks vacation to go and see them. She said, I can give you this to go for 2 weeks vacation. I'll give you an empty sheet with a common signature. You write wherever you want. Coming to Byalstak in December of 1945 was almost no Jewish people, and I found 2 people who were walking. I asked, and I didn't find my family. I went to the house where my uncle lived, where we were in the hiding place, and nobody was there. That means all the people got killed by the liquidation of the ghettos. They were taken out and sent to Treblinka. Now I'm 17 years old and I don't know what to do. So they told me, why shouldn't I go to Lodz? Over there are counselors from the Jewish Brigade, but they fought together with the British against the Nazis, and they stayed behind. Forever survivors from the concentration camps, if somebody wants to go to Israel, they'll take him. So I went and I joined. We were young people from 15 to 17, and we were in a kibbutz, in community living, from one place to another, until we got to Italy. In Italy, we were waiting for our time when we could get a boat, a fishing boat. In a fishing boat, they put in bunk beds between 300 and 400 people, and they took us to Israel. At that time, the British had a mandate over Palestine. Israel at that time was called Palestine, and they only allowed 1,500 Jews to come to Israel, because many people at that time in June of 46, a lot of people came, so they sent us to a camp in Cyprus to wait until our turn come, when the 1,500 people will be time. After 6 months, they sent us to Israel. In Israel, I asked the government if I could learn a profession, because I was only 18 years old. They told me, no, if you want it, we'll send you to agriculture school, and you'll still get 4 hours study and 4 hours working on the fields. I agreed. From 1946 to 1940, beginning in 47 to 1948, I was in a MacDill agriculture school. And in 1947, the UN declared this Israel should have their own land. And in 1948, the Prime Minister at that time, Ben-Gurion, declared the Jews should have their own state too. So they drafted everybody from 18 years older, they drafted to the army. I was 2 years in the Palmach. We fought all over Israel. And after my 2 years is up in March or February of 1950, I didn't know what to do. So because we were together in a group in the army from the school, so we decided to go build a farm village. Only I didn't like to be a farmer, so I worked in the grocery store and in the warehouse. I was there 4 years. Why did I work there 4 years? Because during the time from February to the end of the year, I met one of the counselors wherever helped us to go race on the fields. So he told us there's a school, just girls, you only boys. Why don't you meet each other and maybe you'll find your mate. Sure enough, he took us to Nahal. That's a farmer's village between Haifa and Nazareth, and we met a lot of young ladies. I met my wife. We dated only for 8 months. And in January 16, 1951, I married her. Even her sister got married with my friends. We had a double wedding. And we lived in the farmer's village 4 years until my daughter was born, and every night she was crying, so we decided to move because the Arab we were not far from the border, So they would come every night to the canyon, and they were shooting, and we were shooting back at them. When I decided to move, I moved to Haifa. I worked as in a milk dairy because my father, his job was a milk distributor in Poland, so I figured I'll do the same. So I worked in a milk dairy for 4 years until the family in the United States found me. How did they find me? When I was in Cyprus, in Famagusta, a man wrote a letter. He said he got friends, he's got relatives in Buenos Aires, and he's writing a letter. I told him, why don't you put on my aunt's name? I remembered her married name because she got married in 1938, so I still married her married name. He wrote down, and they find out they were neighbors. She told the people, and I had my mother's grandfather, father, that's me, my grandfather had 11 kids. 5 families in Poland, 3 in Argentina, and 3 in the United States. The 3 aunts from the United States sent the men, look for me, and they say, we would like you should have a taste of a family because you were grabbed of a youth, you were not with your family long. I decided to move to the United States to be close to a family. That's all my mind always was. I would like to be with a family. Family is the most important thing by me. So I moved to the United States in 1959. I worked for my uncle in a grocery store for 1 year. I didn't feel this far enough for me, so I went again to work in a milk dairy. I worked 20 years. I was overseeing on the second shift, and after 20 years came opportunity to buy an auto parts store. How it came out was a son with a father, they had 2 auto parts stores far away, and his father had a lot of heart trouble, and he knew he ever got much to live. So he came to me and he told me, would you like to be a manager of one of the stores? I agreed. I took 6 months leave of absence. I worked 2 months in the auto parts store, and his father said he could do it himself. He ever got no trouble to work because his son wanted him just to be a salesman and be a buyer for parts for the auto parts stores. So he came to me and he said after 6 months his father died. He told me, would you like to buy the auto parts store? I was 11 years old when the war broke out. I didn't finish public school, not college, even public school I didn't finish. And here came opportunity, and I was no businessman, and they asked me if I want to buy it. So I thought to myself, when there is a will, there is a way. I'll learn. Because I worked 2 months in the auto parts store, I know how to read the catalogs. I say, I'll buy it. Even my wife asked me, could you do it? I say, I have to. So I bought the auto parts store, and after 5 years, so happened this, I got prostate cancer, and they told me I got to take 2 months off. And with auto parts, there is a lot of money going, cash going through. You can't take off for 2 months. So I sold the store and I moved to California. In California, I still worked for 4 or 5 years in auto parts stores until my retirement. And after my retirement, I never talked to my kids about the Holocaust. I didn't want to bother them. They feel sorry for me, and they'll be on their mind, and they'll be depressed. I didn't talk when they were 16 and 17. Until the grandkids came to me with a box, the computer box. At that time in 1990 it was a Macintosh, and they say I gotta write my life story. And that changed my life because it took me 3 years to write. In 3 years I felt very bad just writing about it, so I was crying off and on for the 3 years. After living in Rancho Bernardo, I lived for 27 years, and then I had to move to Mission Hills, and my wife got cancer all over her body, and she died in 2021, and because I couldn't live just with four walls, so I moved to senior living to La Casta Glen in Carlsbad. Here I still got speaking all over United States, even to Poland. I went twice, take people going to March of Living, taking students in the camps and talk about it, and then went to Israel. In 2021, I took with FIDF, I took people, seniors or regular people, they want to see the camps in Israel, so I went with them too. And now I'm speaking all over United States to schools. I was invited, my hometown Byalstak, in August in 2023, they decided to do a memory for the uprising of the Jews in Byalstak, so they invited me to come there. I was there, and even over there, I speak to schools, to people, had a translator. How did I have a translator? This lady was working for a newspaper, and she came interview me here in the United States. She wrote a book, and she put she wanted to write a book, How Was Life for the Jewish Kids Before the War. She wrote the book, and the book is only in Polish. I didn't do any translation yet. And my picture of me with my brother and sister, they're on the cover of the book. So she translated wherever I spoke. In Byalstak, there's a museum too. I went there, and they show all things what the Jews went through the time of Byalstak. And here, I even spoke to college A&M in an hour from Texas with 700 people. I spoke to anybody what invites me. If they want to listen about the Holocaust, I'm ready to talk to any place, to anywhere. And that's why I am today.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
You ready for some little extra questions?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the first one. When you came to the United States, did you feel accepted?
I felt accepted because I had my family. I was accepted by the family. They were very loved, and that's why I was very happy to live here too. I was happy living in Israel, and I was happy in any place where I live, because my motto is, yesterday was gone, today is today, and tomorrow will be a better day. I'm always positive. If something doesn't work, I make it work. And that's why I'm today 95 years old. I still play bridge, and I do exercise twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And I walk every morning. I walk over a mile. I do over between 3,000 and 5,000 steps a day.
Wow.
Thank you.
Of course. And when you came, did you feel like you were able to easily come into American society, and it was, it wasn't, once you had your auto shop and after you work, in milk distribution for 20 years, did you feel like part of the community?
Yes, I feel well, one of American. I felt like I lived there for all my life.
And so today, would you say, do you consider yourself fully American?
Yes.
Yeah. And how long did you run the auto shop for? And how old were you when you bought it?
31.
31?
30 years old.
30 years old. And how long did you have it for?
No, it was 50 years old, I'm sorry.
50, okay. And how long did you have it?
5 years.
5 years? And then you moved here and ran it too. Ran little ones.
Yes.
And how many years have you been telling your story?
Telling my story at least 10 years.
And you've done it all over the country?
All over the country.
Well, has there been a favorite one or a biggest one in the United States?
No, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I go to schools, even for one class, and I even went in January of this year. I was invited by my grandson to go to speak to schools in London. I went with my daughter, and I spoke to 4 schools in the week when I was there. I spoke to 4 schools in London.
Wow. Was that fun?
Yes.
Yeah. And so now that you've lived in the United States for decades, and that you have your family here and everyone, are you happy that you made the decisions you made after what you went through?
Yes, because the most important thing by me is family. Even the kids today, I raise them they should be loved, and I make no difference between one daughter or another, and they appreciate it much. This today, they come every Friday, they want to see me, they come every Friday, and they help me out with a lot of things, and all the daughters. They're very interested. I say, why you want to come? They say, we want to spend time with you. And that shows how the love was when I raised them, and they show the love now to me, because it's not easy to live by yourself when you're a widower. So when the kids come and they speak with you, and they even call me sometimes every other day, that helps a lot. I feel I'm not alone.
I'm sure. And last little question, and this is going back a little bit in time, but when you were freed from the last camp, and you had to navigate, going to Russia, working in Russia, coming back to Poland, going to Israel, how did you feel? Were you lost, confused, scared? Were you determined?
I was confused, and I was determined to stay alive and to do anything what I can to advance myself.
And you didn't stop.
And it never stops.
Well, Ben, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I think I can stop it right there.
Wherever he wants to be. After 20 years working in a milk dairy, I didn't hesitate to go and buy a business and run it. And I was very successful. I had to go look for business only the first year. The second year, business were looking for me, because I care for people, and I keep up wherever I got a need in everything. I don't let nothing to go by without working on it.
Would you say you lived the American dream?
Yes.
That's amazing. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything you want to put out here? Anything you want to show?
No, that's it.